The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning, Infowise people. Happy Friday. Glad you guys are here today. This is Will Cooper. I'll be your host today for this workshop. This is the Build It Now with Infowise workshop. This is the third in a series of these that we've been doing. Glad you guys can attend. I'll give you a quick intro and give some ground rules, then we're just going to jump right in. Um, so Basically, the plan here is we want to build a reservation system in SharePoint so that people can do things like reserve rooms and equipment. We had a webinar about this a few months back where we're just showing the concept, and we're actually just going to build the whole thing from scratch in this session. So the goal here, our mission, if you will, is to build as much as we can over the course of the next 2 hours. Hopefully we're going to make a lot of progress there, and you can use some of these steps to help guide you, maybe some of the things that you're doing. We do have a chat functionality in the GoToWebinar interface, and I'm definitely interested in your interaction. Last time I did this, I didn't do such a good job of checking those, but I'm really going to try to work on that today. So please do post your questions and comments. Please be patient. I'm not able to see those all the time, but I'll try to pause periodically and address your questions because I do want this to be interactive. So I'm really going to try to have fun today. I don't like the thought that SharePoint always has to be dull and boring. We can do really cool stuff here, and I think what we build today is going to be something I would hope is exciting to you, and we're going to build some really interesting, cool functionality. So that's kind of ground rules. Just use the chat interface if you have comments or questions. Definitely am interested in hearing from you. I am recording the session, and I'll post that up to our website later on. So that's it. So what you're looking at, I just have a blank SharePoint team site, which I called reservations. This is in SharePoint Online. All the concepts I showed today are available and applicable for SharePoint on-premise, so you can follow pretty much the same steps if you happen to work in that type of environment. So in my site, literally, as I said, I'm just starting from scratch. I did add the Infowise app already, so that's the only step that I've done so far. And pretty much whenever I start a new SharePoint site, I like to get rid of the default layout on home just because that's annoying and I don't want it. So I'm just going to single page for that, and then just want to delete all that stuff. So just resetting that. I like things to look nice. I don't think we just want white and gray text everywhere. So that's really important to me, right out of the gate. I did just snag a banner that I want to use, so I'll just insert that on the homepage. Like I said, I like things to look nice. To me, this is low-hanging fruit. Put things like banners on your page, just to create kind of like a visual anchor point, just so you have your different tools and sites, look different. Want to kind of like balance those images with text. I used to work in the newspaper industry a long time ago, and if you look at a newspaper, you notice they kind of balance the text with images. So whether you have charts or indicators or banner images or whatever, try to build a habit of doing this kind of thing. Just makes things look a little better. Here, I'll give a little border. There we go. So this is just placeholder for now. We're going to circle back to the home page later. So everything, when you're building tools, always starts with lists, right? So that's the very first thing I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go to site contents, and I do the old add an app, and we'll start making our list. Okay, so for the solution I'm going to make today, I want 3 lists. I have one main list, which I'm going to call reservations, and then I'm going to have 2 lookup lists, which are just exactly that, just for lookup. It'll be a list of available equipment and a list of available rooms. So I'm just showing a general concept here. Our reservation system has kind of like a dual purpose. It's to reserve rooms in the building, but it's also to reserve things like whatever, like a projector. It could be vehicles. I don't know, anything you can think of, any kind of equipment or something the company has. You can use it for that. But really, this concept could be applied to anything. So just using the old SharePoint custom list. So as I mentioned, we're going to have 3 lists. So first one's going to be called reservations, and create that. And then I'm going to do one each for my lookup list. Those also be custom lists, very simple ones. These will be equipment and rooms. Equipment, and I need one more. Custom list, rooms. All right, I've kind of got my checklist over my side on my other screen, so I'm just checking off as I go. Okay, so the lookup lists are simple. I already just kind of made some dummy values. Usually I kind of like to have fun with that, so I put kind of funny things in the list. But here, let's change the title field and call it room, just so it's a little more meaningful. Room. Okay. And then I can just use the quick edit mode or whatever they call it here, where I can just paste into the grid. So I'm just pasting from Excel. Oh, no, I put the wrong thing in. Okay, this is rooms. I need to do another list ahead. That's my equipment. I'm going to do that next. All right. All right, let me get rid of these. Yep, get rid of it. One more. Okay, so stop editing. Okay, so really simple concept, right? It's just a lookup list. These are just some dummy names for conference rooms and different rooms in the building. This is data for our system. So now I needed to do the same thing with equipment. Whoops. Okay, so equipment. Get tangled up a little bit. Okay, this is supposed to say equipment. I can say it. Yeah, equipment. Okay, and then I'll do edit. This is where I'm going to paste in my equipment list. Okay. Whoop. It's acting funny. Hold on. That's not what I wanted it to do. Hold on. Let's try that again. Delete. Like it put my whole list in the first cell. That's not what I'm shooting for. Okay. Let's try that again. That looks better. Okay. All right. So this is just like a list of equipment, training laptops, projectors, whatever. This is going to be dynamic. Users or admins can come here and add items or rooms to these lists really easily. That's what we're shooting for. I need to go back to my rooms list because I didn't update the title field for that. Here. Okay. List settings. Okay, so this stage I'm not doing anything with Infowise. I'm just kind of laying the foundation, if you will, kind of getting some things ready to go. Okay. All right, I'm just updating my checklist over here. Okay, so now we want to go and create some fields for our reservations. That's really our main list. That's the only list that we really have to deal with for the most part. Of course, I'm going to be doing all kinds of functionality with this list, but first of all, I've got to get this set up. So I'm going to rename the title field. I really like the Infowise item ID functionality, so I use that in just pretty much any kind of tool that I create. So I usually like to repurpose the title field to be used by that. So I'm going to call it like res number, as in reservation number. I don't need that required. The system's going to handle that for me. So again, I'm just renaming the title field, and that's perfectly acceptable to do that. That, or you can hide title. I like to just repurpose it, rename it. That's my general habit, and that works fine. Okay, so that's reservation number. Okay, so we want to know who's making the reservation, right? So I'm just going to call that reserved by, and we use a people picker. Got to have that, right? So that's a required field. Now, we are going to want that to default to whoever's making the request, but we'll do that with Infowise settings later. We'll get to it. Okay, and then we're going to do resource type. So my system is designed around the concept of two different resource types. You can make a system with more if you wanted to, but this is just going to be a simple choice option, and of course it is required. And you're going to either have room or equipment. Here, I'll make equipment first. Okay, drop down, choice menu. And let's see, we'll make it blank. Normally it's required. So really simple, you just pick one or the other. Okay. And for those of you who hopped on a little bit late, I mentioned earlier, I am recording the session, so don't worry. You'll have an access to recording, and you can play that part back later. But I don't think you missed anything super critical just yet. Okay, next one is going to be start and end, right? If you're making a reservation something, you need to use the date picker to pick a day and time for the start and end for your reservation. Okay. So I just want to keep things simple and clean. So I'm just using short field names here where I can. All right, so this is going to be a date time, and it is required. You do got to pick that when you create the record. And in this case, I need the time as well, as opposed to just a date. So I need to toggle that over. So there's start, and of course, end is going to work very much the same way. Okay, there's end, date and time, just like the other one. Going to toggle that setting. It is required. Okay. The cool thing about this system is we don't need a million fields to create this. We're just shooting for, kind of streamline approach. So that's one nice thing about the system I'm building today. I'm not going to have a lot of fields. Okay, next thing we need, and this is pretty much true of most tools that I set up, is some kind of status. Hold on a second. I'm picking up audio from somebody. Okay, so for status, I'm going to do choice. I'm going to use the color choice functionality in a little bit. But not going to do anything real complicated here. The general concept is that when you very first make a reservation, it's going to have a requested status. And we're going to do something really neat. We're going to have basically like a conflict checker. So whenever you go in and try to make a request, it's going to compare that to existing reservations and basically update. So if you're all clear to go, it's going to change to confirmed. If there's a conflict, then it's going to change to conflict. Now, this isn't a user selected value. It's something we're going to use to show as sort of like a status indication. So you see how that works. But I do need to create it as a choice field nevertheless. Okay. So by default, when it's first created, it's requested. So we do want that as the default value. I don't need to require, like I say, because it's the system's going to drive the changes to the status field. Okay. Okay, then we got our lookups, right? We don't need to do anything fancy here. We can just use standard SharePoint lookup fields, and we need to allow for a selection of either room or equipment. Now, we are going to make it where our form kind of changes dynamically according to what type of reservation you're making. So we'll come to that a little bit later. Okay, so we'll do the room one first. So like I say, that's standard SharePoint lookup field. We already have our list created, so this is going to be easy. I don't want to require that, at least not through the SharePoint setting, because we kind of have to operate in two modes, right? You're either making a room or an equipment reservation. So I want to make sure I don't do that. So let's go to my drop down picker, pick rooms. Okay. And then, just check off, or I'm just going to use the room field, and that'll be in the default field, default view. Okay. And then we need to do the same thing for equipment. Okay, another lookup. Not required. So then I just need to pick the equipment list and, of course, the equipment column. That's correct. That's what we want. Okay, this is just like our other lookup field that we just made. Okay, next we need a couple of fields which are going to be used by our system as part of our functionality to check for schedule conflicts. So this isn't going to show in the user interface, but it is necessary for some functionality that I'm going to set up in a little bit. So these are going to be numeric, and I'm going to call this start conflicts. And I'm going to put this as a number, and it's going to be an integer value. Again, this won't show in any dashboards or in the interface. It's kind of a variable if you want to think of it that way. We're going to do a calculate summary action, and this is when you create a reservation to check. So it may sound a little bit confusing at the moment. This is going to make a lot more sense to you later. Okay, so this is not required. Remember I said it was a system variable basically that I'm creating. And this will have no decimal places. It's going to be an integer value, and I want to take it out of the default view. So not required, not in the view. Okay, and then end conflicts has a similar purpose. I'm going to be using some Infowise action to do some checks and total up values to put into these fields. Okay, so next one is number. Not required, again, integer value. I don't want to show it in the views. Okay. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have a value called, a text field called resource. So this is a text field, another one that's not entered by the user. We're going to use Infowise defaults to populate this. The concept here is, since our form operates in two modes, we're not sure whether the user is going to be picking a room or a piece of equipment. But whatever that is, the name of it, we want to go to just one field that shows on the dashboard. So it's sort of consolidating that. So basically, if it is a room, this will show the value of the room. If it is a piece of equipment, it would show that. So you'll see how this works in a second. But again, this is going to be auto-populated through our configuration. So not required. I do want that in the default view. Okay, let's see. Okay, duration. So we have the concept where you can reserve something for 30 minutes or an hour or 5 hours or whatever. That's dynamic. And we're going to want to have a calculation to know what that length of time is. Okay, so I'll make a calculated field, and the general concept here would be. Here, let me pick that option. Basically be n minus start. We're going to want to do some checks and use some if condition on this later. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm going to kind of put that in the parking lot, but I want to tie this with the progress bar. And in order for that to work really well, I'm going to want to adjust this formula later. But we're just going to start with something basic. which will give us a calculation. It's actually give us a decimal value of like the day, but you'll see how this works in a second. So I can just start with this just to kind of get the ball rolling. So this is going to return back to us a numeric value. This will have decimal places to it, just in the interest of keeping things kind of clean, not having like repeating decimal. I'm just going to put it to 2 places. And yeah, we can put it in the default view for now. So this is a SharePoint calculated field. Okay, let's see, one I missed, I don't want to forget about is attendee. So I kind of think of this like a email CC. You might think of it that way. So this is anybody else. Like this is especially applicable to the room, but I suppose it could be to equipment. You have the person who makes the reservation, but there could be other people sort of using that room or using that piece of equipment with the person who made the reservation. So that's the purpose of this field. So this is another people picker. And in this case, we're going to not require, you don't have to do that. And if you add people, you can add more than one if you want to. Okay. I am not going to put this in the default view because I want to keep my lines nice and clear. I don't want it to, go down to multiple lines, that kind of stuff, because this could have a lot of people on it. So that's everything I need for that. And I think I just have one last calculated field I'm going to add, and then we can start to get to some of the fun stuff. Okay, so I'm going to make one. This is really for like the benefit of our list views. In this kind of system, various list views, filter views, calendar views are going to be a big part of this. But before we can get to all that, we're going to make sure that our core form and functionality does what we're supposed to do. But I want a field which kind of shows me month in a special way. And what I want it to do is basically kind of parse out and show me the month in a special kind of format. So kind of set something up for this ahead of time. I did a little homework before I started my presentation with you guys. Okay, so just to explain what this is a format, and what it's doing, it's going to pull back the month for me in a numeric form, and then show it to me like in 3 characters in text. You'll see what it looks like in a second, but it's just something that's going to help me on those list views. Okay, so I do want to have the default view, and that should be the last field that we need in our reservations list. So as I said, the cool thing is that's really all the data I need for those reservations to kind of be able to set up everything else. All right, let me go back to my checklist as far as things that I want to do. Okay, now we can start to get into the fun Infowise stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go into those Infowise settings, just going to those puzzle pieces, which I'm sure you all know and love so well. Okay, and color choice is easy. So it always makes sense to kind of do easy stuff first. So I have 2 choice fields, right? Okay, resource type, and I really like to use icons pretty much all the time, probably 99% of the time, as opposed to color. That's my personal preference. I'm just going to use this little E box, and then I'm going to do the R. That's just how I decide I want to make it look. I don't think I need to show the label. I'm probably just going to turn that off. Okay, so I just hit update, and now our color choice is, our choice is now a color choice. So our dashboards can look nice. All right, similar thing with status. I want a kind of a nice indicator for that. So we got requested, confirmed, and conflict. Okay, so let's choose some appropriate icons for that. So requested, let's do, I want to do, I think, blue arrow. Confirmed, I want that to be something green. Okay, there's green checkbox. Conflict, something red and something. There we go. Okay, so those are some good icons for that. Hit update. Okay, so that's easy. I like to do easy stuff first. Okay, so go ahead and close that. All right, next item on my checklist. Okay, you always want to get those tab settings right away. You know, if you ever look on the instructions on the side, it kind of helps you know the sequence, but the more practice that you get, you tend to kind of build up those habits. What I kind of like is these settings in general are sort of in this configuration screen in the order that you're likely to do settings, you know, that kind of thing. So there's a reason tab settings are shown first. Okay, so even though this is a pretty simple form, I pretty much always set up tabs. So in this case, I'm actually only going to use one tab, but I still want a tab because it just kind of enables this functionality. So in my judgment, you should always use tabs. Okay, so I'm going to have just one tab called reservation, and then I'm going to just add my fields in here. Okay, so we're going to do reserved by, then we'll do resource type. Let's see what else. Room, attendees. Oh, it's to the top. Equipment, resource. Oh, this is the one that's going to be like a system field. It's just going to just tell us which resource it was. And then, of course, we need to know the start and end. And as I mentioned, you know, like start conflicts, end conflicts, those aren't to show in the form or the list views. Those are just sitting there behind the scenes, so we don't want those to show up here. I always turn on, I haven't put any help labels yet, but I always really like to turn on the pop-up help. I just kind of like that style of help. If we have time, I'll probably do something with the title bar. I guess I can put in, let's put in resource, and then put in like who it's reserved by. I would say that's pretty important. I'll put it in parens. Now, if I just do this by itself, it's going to look really boring. So you kind of have to add some styling to it. I do this so often, I really almost kind of have it burned in my brain. But this is a good habit for you guys because it's pretty quick to do this. So, you know, you should. Okay, so first of all, I really don't want the so the title bar has a CSS class. It's IW form title. And on the new form, I don't really want to see that because what I'm showing in there is dynamic data. It has to do with what's in the list record. So it's really only in the edit view form. Do I want to use this? So for that reason, on new, I just hide it. I don't want it to try to show this bar unless I actually have something to show in it. And then I can come to the edit and now I can put my styling. So again, it's .iw-form title. And I just remember that only because I do this a lot. And now I'm going to put in some CSS stuff. You guys can kind of format this however you want. I kind of have some habits as far as what I like to put for this, but I'll try to explain what I'm putting as I'm doing it. So we need text align, center, padding. We'll do 5 pixel. We want to make it kind of big, so you put some font size in there. I'll say 18 pixel. We need the color to be white on that background. We want the background color set. Background color. We'll make the edit form green. Trying to think if I missed anything. I should pretty well cover it. I'm going to copy and paste this because I'm getting ready to do the same thing again. I'm going to add that, and then I'll do one for view form. Again, so IW-form title. In this case, I'll make it blue. So it'd be really obvious whether you're just viewing the record as opposed to editing it. I probably missed something, but it's easy to go back and adjust these later. Okay, so they'll save out of tab settings now. All right, that takes care of that. Okay, column permissions. Okay, so I mentioned to you our form's going to kind of operate in two modes. Actually, before I do that, let me see if we got any questions or comments in chat. I promised that I would do better with that today. Ooh, this is a quiet audience. Okay, so just a reminder, I do want this to be interactive. I do have to have you on mute just because we got a lot of people attending for our workshop. But if you guys have any questions, comments, anything at all, just use that GoToWebinar chat, and I am kind of checking that periodically, and I do want to respond to your feedback and questions and things like that. So definitely want to hear from you guys. Okay, so let's do column permissions. What I want to do here is kind of show and hide fields according to what the resource type is, okay? So for equipment, we're just going to kind of put this in. Okay, so for equipment, I want this to be hidden in the case that the resource type is room, okay? If resource type is set to room, I don't want to be asking equipment. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Okay, I always use this permissions dynamic, apply permissions dynamic, like I'm going to turn that on. Okay, so there's the first one. And then the converse of that is I want equipment to be writable if resource type equals equipment. Pretty intuitive settings here. So we're going to want to check this in a second, make sure I set this up right. Okay, and then I want to do the same type of thing for room. So if I want room to be hidden if the resource type equals equipment. Okay, and you can kind of tab through these fields. That helps you go faster. And then I need to show if the resource type equals room, right? That's pretty obvious. Okay, and for resource, that's like the system field. It's going to get auto-populated. So the user's not going to fill this out, but I do want to show it to him. For resource, I'm just going to make that read only all the time. Don't need any conditions for that one. Another one, okay, attendees. You don't need attendees for equipment. I guess I suggested earlier you might, but I think that's kind of lame. All right, I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to do a similar thing for that. For attendees, I'm going to say, don't show me that if resource type equals equipment. Okay, and then writable if resource type equals room. That's it. Those are the only things we need for column permissions that'll kind of make our form adjust depending on the resource type you pick. So I'm just going to save out of here, wait for the spinner to finish for me, and then we can kind of go on to the next thing. All right, so there's column permissions. All right, next thing, we need a little validation in here, right? We've got to make sure we get required data. Now, I mentioned to you I couldn't require the room or equipment selection because I didn't necessarily know what they were going to pick. I couldn't just use the simple SharePoint validation, but I do want validation. I just am needing to use the Infowise configuration for this instead. Okay, so for validation, basically, I need to make sure that room, I'm going to do length greater than 0. I'm going to say room is required. That's going to be my validation message. But only if my resource type equals room. I do want validate empty columns. That's good. I think that used to not default on, but you pretty much always want to use it. So that makes sense. That's good. Okay, and then I need to do the same thing for equipment, right? So equipment, I need to say length greater than 0, and I'll say equipment. It's required, but only when resource type equals equipment. We want to check all this stuff. I'm kind of breaking what I advise sometimes. Really, when you're doing this thing, it's a good idea to check that form a lot rather than doing lots of settings before you check the form. So I'll get out to that in just a second. Okay, so there's my validation rules. Okay, that was pretty easy. Not a whole lot to do there. Okay, we need defaults, right? I'm kind of just working my way down through the settings. All right, so what do we want for defaults? We're going to kind of do something interesting, something simple, and then something more interesting. Okay, the first one is who's making the reservation, right? We're trying to save the user a little bit of work, so I'm going to use current user. I think somebody asked me in the last workshop, can you use me? I think you can. I mean, whatever works, just try it out, but current user definitely works. And I need this to happen just on the new form. So the idea is it'll show whoever's creating the form, but if it needs to be overridden, they can do that too. We do want it to be flexible. Okay, so that's for that field. And then resource. I told you resource was going to be like a system-driven field, and we're going to drive that through these default settings. So I'm going to go to resource, and what I wanted to do is basically I want it to populate with the room, but only in a specific case, right? So I want it to be room, but only in the condition that the resource type is room. Okay, and that could be on new and edit. I suppose somebody could change it, so probably should have it that way. And then I need to do the same thing where resource equals the value in equipment if resource type equals equipment. Okay, just like the last one. I'm going to save out of these settings. Okay, so that takes care of that step. Got our defaults there. Oh, I didn't do my item ID yet. I should do my item ID. That's really easy. That's in business logic. Okay, remember I renamed the title field to res number, so I just need to set a rule for that. So a new item, I wanted to set res number, and I'm just going to make it res dot, and then I'll just give it the numerator function. You can see the value if you want, just to be fancy. I guess I'll do that. I'll start it in 100. Okay, and just click add. And then Infowise will just set the ID for me every time. So I just like those, just provides a reference point. Okay, that takes care of that. All right, I said I'm going to start making some records so I don't try to go too far along without checking any of my work. Okay, let's go back to our list. Let's see how we did. Okay, so when I go to the reservations list, and we're going to want to clean up our view and stuff in a little bit. Now, we didn't get to actions yet. I'm going to get to it. That's the stuff that you guys are probably going to be really interested in, where it kind of checks for the schedule conflict in that. But we're getting to it. We still got plenty of time. Okay, so I need to make some dummy records. Okay, so here's our form. All right, let's check some stuff out and see if it does what we think it's going to do, right? Okay, so if it's resource type equipment, bam, there's the equipment field. If I do room, there's room and attendees. Resources read only. So generally things are looking good. We don't see a title bar. That's good. We wanted to hide that in this case. We're just putting dummy values. We don't care. This is something, I don't know why, but people are just like, don't put in dummy records, but you need it for testing. So we're going to do 6 of these. We're going to do a bunch of them. Why not? Okay, conference room Apple. I'll just put myself in, I guess. Oh, okay. See the resource that filled in? That's good. So we're getting a bunch of confirmations about our functionality, which is good. Okay, and All right, let's make reservation for today at say 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, because we can't really even do list views and things like that, which we want to do until we've kind of filled in some of these things. So that's why these dummy records are so important, because none of this stuff is really going to make sense otherwise, unless we have some data. So I'm going to do 3 rooms and 3 pieces of equipment just to get the ball rolling. We'll do Rec Lounge A, no attendees for this one. Here, I'll make it for yesterday at, let's say noon to 4. So I know this isn't super exciting to watch, but we really do need this data to be able to do some of our next steps. All right, so there's our second practice record. We'll do one more room. There's my IDs filling in. That's good. Resource type, room, another conference room. We'll make this one for Wednesday. Now, normally I wouldn't put them in the past. I guess that's a validation check I could put in, but we really want to focus on core functionality first. You know, some of those things are easy to do, right? Just through validation rules. We want to really make sure our core system does what we want, and then we can kind of handle the rough edges later, the stuff that's not going to be hard. Okay, so I'm going to make that one go from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll say they have it most of the day. Okay, there's some rooms. All right, let's do equipment next. Okay, so we're going to do 3 records for that. Okay, so this is equipment. So notice that now it's asking me about the equipment. That was our lookup list. So we're going to have the projector. Let's say that's for today from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, hopefully you agree. This is a pretty simple form. This should be pretty dummy-proof for users, I would hope. All right, there's 1 piece of equipment. We need 2 more. Okay, we need equipment. Let's get something cool. What do I want? I want the virtual reality set. That sounds fun. Okay, we'll do that from Thursday. I want it all day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do that. Then we need 1 more. What else do we want to get? Equipment. Here we'll get an SLR camera. I'll make that one for Monday this week. Part of the reason I'm picking on this week is because I'm going to make a calendar view later, and I just want to see what that's going to look like, and I don't want to be jumping around all over the place. So we'll make that from noon to 5 p.m. This is the last dummy record I'm going to make, so hopefully I'm not boring you to tears. Okay. Okay, so now that I've done that, I want to kind of clean up my view a little bit. So, all right, let's see. Hold on just 1 second. Oh, I said I wanted to show like a length, like the duration of the meeting. So that would be an Infowise indicator. So first of all, I want you to notice something, what SharePoint's returning to me by default. I remember I made the formula extremely simple to start with. So what SharePoint's returning to me on duration is a decimal value which represents the decimal of the amount of 1 day. Okay, so it looks really funny. Obviously, this is worthless to the user, but I just need to be aware in terms of how I do my progress bar. The progress bar is going to look really cool, but we got to really set it up right. Okay, so let's work on that formula a little bit. Okay, so that it's actually returning something that means something more to us, and we catch different conditions, that kind of thing. So let's go back to duration and let's see if we can improve. Okay, so I only want it to calculate up to a certain value. Like I'm going to make this a progress bar, but I don't want it to just be massive if somebody reserves something for a week, right? So I want kind of an upper boundary. And the other thing is, I don't want it to return some crazy value, if it doesn't have what I want. So um, really what we want is hours, right? So really what we'd like to do is multiply this value times 24, 1 hours instead of days, right? Now it is good to kind of do this incrementally. So what I kind of like to do is do some checks here. Rather than just try to, be Einstein and get my formula perfect all at one time, I'm gonna just make adjustments and see if it starts returning values that I expect. 12 to 4 p.m., that's 4 hours, right? So instead of this fragment of a day, which makes no sense, now we're actually getting values for hours. And I told you I wanted an upper boundary. This is kind of my own preference, but I really wanted to show a bar for me of like 6 would be like the biggest. They can reserve more than that, but I just don't want a progress bar that like goes past that point. So if it's more than 6, then I just wanted to return a value of 6, that kind of thing. So I'm going to put an if block in my calculation. I'm doing this all so that my progress bar doesn't go crazy, right? I've been hurt by that before. So I'm anticipating some problems I'm going to have with that bar if I don't make this value handled appropriately. Okay, so when you do an if block, looks like this, right? If, and then you have the argument, and then true and false result. Okay, so what I need to check is, here, let's put that all in parentheses. I'm going to do some copy and paste. So I want to see, I need 2 parents, right? Normally I'd do this in a text editor, but I don't think this should be too bad. Okay, if this value is more than 6, then return me 6. Otherwise, do your calculation. Get rid of this chunk back here. Let's see if I have the right amount of parentheses and stuff. Ooh, no, I've done something crazy. Okay, hold on a sec. Is that... What have I done? Sorry, these are tricky. I think everybody's been in calculated field help before. Okay, let me just read through here real quick. I'm doing Control Z. I'm like backing myself up. So yeah, return 6. Otherwise, that's the true result. If it's more than 6. Here, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to say if it's less than 6. Return the calculated value, otherwise return 6. I mean, I'm going to know right away if it's wrong, so that's the good thing. If I somehow mess that up. Really easy to mess this up. All right, let's look out here. Oh, I need to, oh yeah, that's good. Well, we know at 8 to 5, right? That's more than 6 hours, but notice return 6. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this way is the progress bar. Now you're gonna see why. So I'm gonna go to the design. I'm gonna make my length. I'm gonna make a progress bar called length. Everybody loves progress bars, so I'm gonna do that right now. So where are you? Indicator. That's what I want. Where are you, indicator? There you are. Okay, it's a new column. Just calling it length. Hopefully that's not a reserved term. I don't think it is. Progress bar, and there. I need to take that value from duration. Start value is 0. Goal value is 6. That's the max. I don't need to do crazy things with colors. I'm just going to use a green bar, so I'll just leave that alone because it's optional. hit save, and it'll make that progress bar field for me. And then I just need to go and take a look at my list view. So at this point, I can go back to my site and check that out. Oh, cool. There it is. Okay. All right. So all that crazy stuff I did, hopefully it makes more sense to you now. So there's 6. There's the max value. Just kind of like another way to add a visual indicator on there. Now that I've got that, I don't really want to show duration. In fact, there's all kinds of things I want to do to make this view better. And if I were building the system fully, I would make loads of views. So we'll probably get to some of that later. I always like to use the edit button. That's one of the first things I do. So I'll make that first. Generally turn off the tabular view. So I'll do that next. That's the checkbox column that usually shows first. I just told you I don't need to see duration. That's just a numeric value to feed my progress bar. So let's start with that. Let's see if things are looking better. I'm going to do a group by for this. It's going to help kind of cluster things in a certain order for us. So probably want to do that next. The resource that needs to move up, since that's obviously kind of a very important piece of information. All kinds of things we want to do to this list view. Okay, so let's move up resource to make that, let's make that number 3. And I'm going to use the group by. I want to make them expanded. Change that default. Okay, so let's see. I want to make it, let's see, group by resource type and then month. I think that's how I'm doing it. Okay, so we want all the rooms to be together and all the equipment to be together. So that's why I'm doing that. So resource type. So we want rooms or equipment first. Make rooms first, and then the month. Okay, and is that descending? I want to see newest first. I'm not sure. I'll just leave it like that for now. Okay, so we're going to have the group by going now. Okay, so hopefully now you kind of see why I was doing that calculated field for a month, because I want to order it, and if I didn't have that number, then I couldn't get it to sequence the way I wanted. Now, you can imagine as this system accumulates more and more data, where that would be important for you. We don't see the second level group by because I didn't put anything for another month, but you can see how that would work. So I've got everything from September in one block. So just kind of trying to make a nice looking setup for that. Okay, let me come back to my checklist. And I'm going to pause. I'm going to see if you guys ask me any questions. Oh, somebody put, I don't know. I didn't understand the question. Okay, there's a question in chat, but I don't get it. Sorry. Please restate if you want me to answer something. I think you were just making a joke, but I can't really tell. Okay, just a reminder, if you guys want to ask me about any of this stuff, put the questions in the chat. I guess I haven't shown anything really complicated. Now, because I have resource that's saving me from room and equipment, right? Because that's just a copy of that information, so I can can those columns. So let's fix that. Take that off, take that off. So I'm just kind of trimming away at things to make it look better. All right. Well, it's a reservations calendar, so we probably want to make a calendar page, right? That'll probably be a good thing to do next. Let's go ahead and try and set that up. These are a little tricky to me. I just sometimes get tripped on this. We'll see. Hopefully I do well, but sometimes you may have to make more than one attempt. So what I'm going to do is make a page to put my calendar web part on. So I just come in the site pages. This is the directory with the flower icon on it. And I will just call it reservations calendar. Okay. Create that. Just a blank wiki page. That's all this is. Okay. So I I'll just do something real quick. I'm going to save this, and I want to get that URL. I'm just going to add it into my navigation just to keep on top of things. So we'll say reservation calendar. Okay, I'm just pasting in the URL. Just making sure it's easy for me to get back up, because I don't want to keep going back to the site content screen. I don't want to go digging around for it. Okay, so next thing I need to do is, I need to make the profile first. It's a little counterintuitive. Before you add the web part, you need to go in the Infowise settings and do your configuration. So let me go there first. All right, this is in app parts, and we're looking at event calendar. That's the thing that we want to make. Okay, let's see. All right, what do I want to call this? Okay, I'll call it reservations-calendar. The naming of this is important because I'm going to pick this from another view. I want to make the default view weekly, but you can change the view on the screen. So, but this is the one that I think is what people want to look at most. So I'm just kind of setting the default. Okay, and then I need to make a data source. I can call this whatever, but I will just call it res data. Well, I'll call it reservation data. And we make a profile for that. Yeah, I guess I'll give it a color. I don't know this is especially important, but I'll do that. Allow adding values. Sure. This means you could create a new reservation from the calendar view. Okay, so it already found my list. I don't know how I need that. I guess it just knows. Okay, reservations, view, all. Sure, that's what we wanted. The title, we want that to be the resource. Okay, and then this is easy, right? The start date is the start field. The end date is the end field. Isn't it nice when everything lines up? Okay, location, sort of doesn't apply. I'll just pick something arbitrarily here. Okay. Show additional columns. Yeah, we pretty much always want to use that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time deliberating on these selections just because this can be updated later. Kind of just trying to get the ball rolling. So I'm just going to go through here and kind of like check off some of the fields that I think are important. Compliance asset ID, that would not be something I want to show. Okay, so we'll do duration. No, we don't want to show that. Well, maybe we will. Why not? Okay, and resource, we already have on the top. We could show it again. That wouldn't hurt anything. Reservation number, sure, why not? I'm just kind of picking some stuff out. So again, I don't want to agonize over these settings initially. I just want to get the basics set up right. I want to have a category picker. So that'll be resource type. So I don't want to get too fancy here. Basically, I just want to make it where on the calendar you can check for rooms or equipment instead of kind of having it all mixed together. So that's really all I'm shooting for there. I'll just leave that other stuff alone. So add that. Okay, cool. So here's reservation data. View settings. I'm not going to mess around with that. Just leave that all alone. And then click add. Should give me a confirmation dialog, I think. Did it already add it? Yeah, it did. Okay, reservations calendar. Okay, cool. Okay, now I should be able to go back to my page and do my calendar. All right. See why I made that link? gotta keep up with that. Okay. All right, so I'm coming back in here. And okay, so what you want to do is go into web part, go to categories and Infowise, And there's kind of two versions of the Infowise calendar in SharePoint Online. The more modern one here says Infowise Event Calendar Client. That's what I want. Okay. So I'm going to add that to the page. And then it says, okay, what do you want me to get my data from? So I just go to my web part settings. Okay. And then click this box. There it is. Reservations calendar. Boom. Okay, cool. I just hit the X here. Okay, let's let's make it say something different than Infowise Event Calendar Client. I don't think our users want to see that. Okay, let's say reservations calendar. All right, I'm not going to mess with any of the other Chrome settings or anything like that right now. I don't need to. Just hit OK. Loading. Oh, yes, it worked. You guys don't know what a huge relief that is to me. Like I said, it's easy to get tripped up when creating these, but isn't that cool? We've got like a visual layout of things that are reserved. Oh, awesome. There's our rollovers. And this should work. Let's see. Okay, equipment. Yep, that's just the equipment. That's right. So I can make all kinds of different calendar pages. There's so many different ways you can configure the calendar, but this is important because it's, like I say, laying foundation. So I've got my main calendar working, and then you can do stuff like toggle into like a month view. See that? You can toggle another view, see what that looks like. So it's kind of cool. So you can play around with that. Usually you just want to kind of try adjusting settings slightly, kind of see what happens, experiment, so you get it as close to what you want as you can. Cool, we got our calendar done. Okay, all right, what do we got to do next? All right, let's see. All right, we kind of got our list view the way we want, so I'd say we pretty much did that. Home page. Why don't we go ahead and add the list view web part on the home page, since I'm kind of ready to do that now. This is starting to look like a production tool. Okay, so I just got to go in and find my reservations. Where are you? Okay, reservations. There you go. Yep, that's all we got to do. Yeah, I could maybe put in like some things to make this page look a little bit nicer. Are you saving? I was thinking about it. Oh, man, it just froze for some reason. I have no idea why. Oh, now it did it. Just really wanted to think a long time about it. Okay, let's just kind of leave that alone for now. Okay, so homepage is done. Now we're really starting to pick up speed. Okay, now for like the big payoff, right? You guys are probably wondering how I made this, can make this like reservation check and that type of thing. So this is the big payoff. So before I actually even make that, I want to show you guys something. I want to talk about that with you a little bit. All right, I made this incredible diagram. Spent a long time making this for you guys. Okay, so this is the concept we're shooting for. You have these existing events, and we need to do some checking, right? So on our existing records and on our new record, we need to find out whether there's an overlap, right? And if there is, then that's basically like an invalid reservation. We need to like kick it back out. Now, it would be super awesome if I just sort of automatically could block that. But unfortunately, I don't really have a great way to do that, but you'll see that this is going to work pretty well. For one thing, the user has some pretty good views, or will have some good views, that should make it pretty obvious to them what dates and times are available and what aren't. So in a sense, this is like a secondary thing. This is like a system check in case they screw up anyway, in spite of our efforts to make these awesome views. Okay, so in green, this is an existing event. Basically, for all those existing events, we want to do a comparison. This is our new event, right? And I'm showing you this visual representation, so when I get to the action, it's going to make more sense to you. What I need to check is to see I need to check my start time and my end time. And what I want to find out is if the start time is after an existing start time for that type of resource and at the same time before its end, then that would be a conflict. I want to trigger an action that's going to update the status accordingly. And then I want to have another action which does the same thing for end. If that end time's after an existing start time and before its end, that's a conflict, right? So that's going to, in combination, tell me what we want to know, which is there a schedule conflict? If none of that's the case, then we're good. Basically, it's green light. We're going to change the status to confirm or whatever I named it. I can't remember what I named it. So I just want to show you that just so you have some idea of what we're trying to do with the actions. Okay? So now let's go to that. So go back to my reservations list, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Sorry. I have another one I made. See, I wanted to practice. I'm ready to roll for you guys. So what I'm going to do is look at actions from that, and we're going to kind of use that for reference. Okay, so in here, this is like attempt 1, but ours is going to be even more awesome. This is our new version of a reservation system. Okay, so I'm doing this to help me out because I kind of worked on some of this before. And these are the things I was talking about. It's count start conflicts and count end conflicts. I basically need to recreate these in my other list. Okay, so come in here. I don't have any actions yet, so like I said, we'll kind of save some of the harder things for later. Okay. So the most complicated thing we're going to do in here is these first two actions, which is what I was showing you in my little diagram. What we got to check for? We got to check for start conflicts. We got to check for end conflicts. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. So Infowise has an action type which you probably rarely or have never used before. It's called Calculate Summary, and the purpose of that is to give you a roll-up total based on certain conditions that you set to check through all the records in the list, and that is exactly what we need in this case. Okay, we're going to run this on New and Edit, and what we want is to get a total. We're going to get a count based on these conditions. And this is what the rules look like according to the diagram that I just showed you. Okay, we're checking, we got to do our start check and we got to do our end check, okay? So I'll talk you through as I'm applying the settings. Okay, so this is the one I'm doing. I'm going to do Calculate Summary. I'll let that go on New and Edit. Let's do a little copy and paste to speed this up a little bit. Now, I don't usually use this setting a lot, but in this case it's helpful. This is kind of like a high priority action taking place, and I want to be sure, no matter what, that before that form closes for the user, that this action has completed. It's kind of like a critical action right at the start of the process. Therefore, I'm turning on the synchronous setting. I'm going to do it just for these two first actions. And in here, you can see, it's like in our other list, it's the current list. All right, so one thing is, we're just checking for that resource, right? I'm not checking every record. It's whether you're, like if I'm trying to reserve conference room A, I just want to find out if there's conflicts for conference room A, right? So that's what the first condition is for. Okay, and then I don't want to check check the current record, so that's why the ID not equals ID. Let's do the next one. Okay, we're going to say start greater equals start. Okay. So we're trying to count up where there are conflicts. This is going to give us a total of that. Start greater than or equals to start. Okay, and then the next one is start less than n. and start less than n. Okay, and the ID not equal ID. Like don't check this current record. Okay, we've got two options when you have calculate summary, error or update. I almost always use update. I haven't really had a use case for error. I guess you could do error checking using that. All right, for the column, sometimes when you're doing these, you're trying to get, like, there could be a numeric field. Let's say I was like totaling up sales data. I'd want to get like the total for sales. So and I'd select the column. In this case, the column is completely arbitrary. It doesn't matter, but I need to pick one. So ID is fine. Like I say count is what we're looking for. And then this is going to go in those, remember those two columns I made, start conflicts and end conflicts. So this is going to give me a total number of records returned back where there was the overlap, where's the conflict, right? So I'm just going to restate this one more time, just for clarity. What I'm telling Infowise is to check this whole reservations list only for items where it's the same resource. So if user is making a reservation for conference room A, it's only going to look for other reservations for conference room A. I'm looking to find out conditions where the start of the reservation they're trying to make and the start of the reservation, the reservation trying to make is after an existing start, while at the same time being before that end for that record, the start being before that end, meaning it's an overlap and not for the current record. And I want it to give me a count. So presumably if there's conflict, you would get one, but this is just a mechanism for me to get that. I don't need any conditions on this. I need it to execute all the time. Okay. Kind of tricky stuff, right? But like I say, these are the only two complicated actions that we have. So once we get these right, we're going to be home free. Okay, so we need another calculate summary. And as you might guess, this would be count end conflicts. The awesome part is once you have this set up, you don't have to do anything more with it. And I'm not having to do any programming. Normally, you'd be having to write some programming, right? It's kind of tricky stuff that we're trying to do. Okay, remember I turned on the synchronous. Just going to do it for these two actions. So this one looks very much like the last one. So resource type equals resource type. Or no, resource, sorry. Almost got tripped up. Let's hit cancel. I'm just kind of referencing since I did this one time before. Okay, so end conflicts, resource equals resource, and greater than start. And less or equal end. And ID not equal ID. Just like the last one, pretty much. Remember, it's an update, and this will be end conflicts. We do want count. Oh, whoops, this is ID. This is the one I told you doesn't matter. The saving column is the one that matters. That's where we're going to get end conflicts. Let's double check and make sure we did that right. All right, no conditions. We can go ahead and save this. Okay, okay, we just did the hardest actions, I promise. Okay, let's take a look at what other actions we need, okay? So we need to do some more. Okay, now these actions all fire in sequence. So I'm going to get a value. So basically, I'm going to get a 0 or a 1. 0 if it found no conflicts, 1 if it did find a conflict. But I've got two of them, right? So I need to do a check for each one. If there's a conflict, or oh, actually, no, I have one that's going to basically give us if there's a conflict, one if it's confirmed, and what we need to do is update status. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so what we're looking for is if the start conflict is more than 0 or the end conflict is more than 0. If that happens, then we'll change the status to conflict. Okay, we're going to alert the user, do whatever things that need to take place. Okay, that's all we got to do. This is just a Infowise update action. Okay, so check change status to conflict if conflicts found. Okay, let's see. We're going to do that on new and edit. I can leave advanced settings for this one. So status. I'll make sure I have that right. I'm just looking to see what I did for the status field. It was requested, confirmed, or conflict. Okay, so we're going to change status to conflict. Where ID equals ID, that's correct. We just got to get our condition correct. Okay, so what we're looking for is where start conflicts or end conflicts greater than 0. Or make sure you change that drop down right there. Or end conflicts greater than 0. Then make that update for me. Okay, that's like red light. Whoop, hold on, can't do it. The system's going to do what it needs to do. Now we have the good condition. So this would be change status to reserved, right? Or confirmed. That's what we did. Confirmed if no conflicts. Okay, so status confirmed. And we'll do email alerts tied to this, right? We want to notify the user, that type of thing in both cases. So I'm going to put confirmed under the condition that start conflicts always equals 0 and end conflicts always equals 0. We want those to be 0, so that would mean we're all clear. Okay, that takes care of those actions. All right, so we got a little bit more to do. Okay, so we only have 2 other ones. All right, let's do the delete conflicts. Okay, so let's talk about what would happen. So the user, we're letting them make the record, and then we're going to warn them and say, oh, you made a mistake. Now, our users can be lazy sometimes, or they don't fix it for whatever reason. We don't want those records to linger in the system. If there's a conflict, we want to get rid of it. So what we did is we put in an action to get rid of it. We're going to delete the record if somebody doesn't clean up this invalid record they created. So all we got to do in this case is do a check, and we're going to run this in a timer. So this is going to be timer based. To delete the list item only in the condition that the status is conflict, okay? So it's going to sweep through the whole list and do this for me hourly. So it's just going to kind of like purge our system of these. All right, so we're going to do the delete. Boy, that's one I don't use often. It sounds kind of dangerous, right? Delete records, delete conflict records, records hourly. Okay, not on new or edit. This is timer based. I wanted to do it every hour. I'm just going to pick this hourly reading button. This should work fine. Okay, don't need to do anything with advanced settings. And it asks me which items. And I'm going to change the default. What I want to do is say where status equals conflict. And the timer requires a condition. I would normally wouldn't want to put something here, but it's just like a validation rule in the system. So there's something arbitrary you can do. Just always not equals 0. That'll work fine. Like that's what I did in this one. Yep. Okay, that takes care of that one. There's only one other one. So Infowise, they just released some new functionality, which is exchange functionality, which is cool. At the moment, that means you can do things such as the calendar invitation. So we're going to go ahead and stick that in there too. Okay, so we're going to do calendar event, and I'll show you what that looks like. So it's this action type manage exchange. This is brand spanking new. It just came out recently. And this will actually do a calendar invitation for me. Just like that. And I need to do it on new, but I need to do a condition check for it also, right? Okay, so we'll do it new. And it needs to be status always equals confirmed. I don't want to send a calendar reservation if there's conflict, right? That would be really bad. Okay, so now we've got options. You can do updates, create. Just to get the ball rolling, I'm going to do create. We could kind of come back and expand our functionality to do updates, but I'm not going to deal with that just right at the moment. So I'm going to do create event. I'm trying to remember what all this is. Okay, so title, that would be, let's say, a combination of things. Let's say a resource, and then we'll put the name of the person who reserved it, I guess. Kind of play around with values here. Okay, your reservation is confirmed. Okay, I'm not interested in making this look pretty at the moment. I'm interested to see if it works first, and then I would circle back and polish the content. Location, that would be the resource, right? Okay, and then start and end. You know what we're putting there. Start and okay. Not all day, importance normal. Okay, let's see what we did in our other one. Oh, I'll just type in my name, I guess. This is kind of new. I'm kind of still learning to see what this is. Normal, busy, served by. Sure. And we're going to test all this to see what it does. If it doesn't do what we expect, then we can come back and just adjust these settings. Okay, we got our condition check, so that's good. That was the last thing we needed to do on actions. All right, now this one requires you to authenticate, so yes, I like you. Infowise, I will let you do what you need to do. Okay, there, then it saves the action, and I can close out of here. All right, so now you're probably thinking, all right, well, prove it, show me this works. Okay, so that's what we got to do. We're gonna see if these things do what they're supposed to do. Okay, so we're gonna be bad guys. We're gonna make a conflict. Okay, before I go on, I'm gonna see if anybody had any questions or comments. Okay, so I need to drop out. You guys are so quiet. If there's anything you're thinking about, let me know. I'm happy to address any questions you have about this. As I say, we want to try and help you guys if any of this doesn't make sense or you want me to address some things that I've glossed over. Okay, I'm going to make a bad reservation request, and watch our system go to work, and a good one. Okay, we'll start with the bad one. Okay, so I want to look for All right, conference room Apple is reserved today from 10 to 11. All right, so I'm going to try to make another reservation from 10:30 to 11:30 today, I guess, for conference room Apple. Okay, let's do that. All right. It's a room, conference room Apple. I don't have to worry about attendees for this. All right, here we go. I'm evil. I'm going to make the start time overlap the thing that already exists. So we do 10, 30. This is no good. Can't make this. You shouldn't be able to get a reservation for this. We'll see if our system handles this how we want it to. 11:30, 10:30 to 11:30. All right, boom. So I can make the request. Now notice it paused for a second. That's because of the synchronous actions I added where it's going to get the totals for me. Oh, boom, there it is, conflict. Okay, so that sticks out like a sore thumb, right? That's good. It means it picked up on the conflict, and obviously we're going to tie an email alert to this. And we made an action which is going to purge that out of the system for us. So that's cool. It picked up on the conflict. Now let's do one where it's fine. Okay, let's do conference room Apple for this afternoon at 4 to 5. And we should get the other result. We should get the confirm result. That's what we want. Okay, so we're going to do room, conference room Apple, and then this time, it is for today, and I'm a good user. I'm going to pick a time that is actually available from 4 to 5. Okay, that one should be fine. We're expecting the system to confirm that that's fine. Again, it'll pause for a second. It's doing that check. Now you got to do like a page refresh. Bam, there's confirm. See how that works? So those requested ones, those are dummy records I made before the action. So I can purge out my dummy data later, but basically you're never going to see that. Okay. So once that record's in there, they're locked in. We could add functionality to do some things to like block users from changing somebody else's reservation or things like that. But we don't necessarily, tighten down everything like that just right this second. Again, we're kind of interested in core functionality at first. So it's cool. That was kind of the most complicated part about our system, and we kind of just proved that part of it works. So that's good. All right, go to my checklist, did our actions, email alerts. We really should do that next. Let's look at, let's see that title bar too. That'd be kind of cool to see. See that green bar at the top? Just kind of making the system more user-friendly. That was the styles I put in earlier. It just helps it look better. And notice if I go to the view form, it'll be a blue bar. Should be a blue bar. Let's see if it is. So we kind of have like an obvious visual indicator whether you're in the view form or not, or if you're in the edit form. All right, so we need email alerts for this, okay? So let's do that. Let's go into the reservations list. And you can get to this from the Infowise settings screen, but there's actually a ribbon icon. The faster way to get to it is just to go directly by clicking on the orange bell. So the ones I would probably like that are obvious to me is an email for the reservation confirmation. Just say, hey, you're confirmed, and then one for conflict. Now it is true. We did do the like calendar reservation. Hold on, I'm going to pause screen sharing for a second. I'm going to see if I got an email that shows that. I don't see it right at the moment. Yeah, we'll circle back to that one. All right, folks. All right, we're back to the email alerts. Okay, so first thing is to make your content template. When you're making email alerts, you should always start with that. I'm going to make a new one just to walk through it. I kind of made one before, but since I already kind of made this system one time before, I'm going to call it reservations too. This is just a name for your own reference. Okay, so this is going to be confirmation. Okay. I always like to encourage you, put the name of the tool in parentheses at the beginning. That way people can make like an Outlook rule and make all these confirmations go to a folder instead of bombing their inbox. That's a good idea. Reservations. It's a good idea to let them make a rule to filter this. Okay. Res confirmed. And what do we want? We want the name of the resource, which is going to be the room. You add that to the subject line. And then we'll put the name of the person who reserved it. And then we'll put some of this stuff in here. Your reservation is confirmed. I want to make it larger. I like 14. I don't know why. I just picked that up a lot. Okay. Your reservation is confirmed. And then we'll put in kind of some key information. We'll put the resource. Reserved by. Just kind of putting the key information here. Don't need to get super detailed. I don't need to put in like all the information necessarily, but obviously it makes sense to put in the key things. Start. It's kind of like the other thing. I don't have to make this look beautiful right at first, but because I can always come back in and polish it, right? I kind of want to see what it looks like before I get to that step. And then pretty much you always want to add an edit item link at the bottom. It's just a good habit. And I'm going to do a little styling here. I'll make that blue. Why not? And then highlight that in green. You know, put some color in here. Make it kind of visually interesting. Just have a simple black and white thing. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, so that's our content template. I do want to share this with other users, so I'm going to put okay. So that makes the template available. So I'll put reservations. That's the name of the system. I'll put confirmed. And yeah, I'll just make it go to me for now, but I can do like reserve by or whatever. You can change it to whatever you need to. Okay, so what I want is for this to happen. It would be on a modify. We have an action that does a modify. Well, I can select both of those. It won't hurt it because I'm going to have a condition where status after change equals confirmed, right? Because that's what our field is going to change to. So only when that field changes over to confirmed will it send this email for me. And then I just picked the email template I just made. That's it. I'll go ahead and make that. And then we're going to do a similar one for the conflict to say, hey, you knucklehead, you tried to make a reservation for a time where it's already reserved. We need one for that. So I'll go back to mail templates. Since it's similar to this, I can do some copy and paste. So I'll do this, and then I'll come back to new. Whoops. Reservations to conflict. I'm just going to save this for a second and then come back to the other one. Because I want to kind of follow the same pattern, right? So I'm going to copy and paste this, and then I'm going to go over to the one that I want to update. Conflict. Let's paste this in here. Your reservation has a conflict. Not good. Here, I'm gonna get crazy. I'm gonna make a background color red. This is gonna get their attention. Whew. Oh, maybe that's too much. I can't do it. Okay, so I'll do pink. Let's make it bold. Oh man, hold on. Bold. Please edit your reservation. It's going to do this on updates too, so they can fix it. Reservation to pick an available time by clicking the link below. Resource reserved by start in. All right, that's got the gist of it. Okay, so we have our content template now, and I can go ahead and pick that. Okay, and then I'm going to come back up here, and we're going to make another role. Change this to conflict. Current site, current list. And this will be on the condition that status after change equals conflict. Okay, now just click add and it'll add up there in a sec. Let that spinner finish. Come on, there you go. I kind of have to pan through this list to see the most recently created alerts. I've got some other alerts in here. Because it's already in there. I missed it somehow. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they're in there. I can close this. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to check it, right? Okay, so I basically want to repeat what I just did again, just to see if the email comes out the way I want it to. Hopefully it will. Okay, so let's do bad one again. Okay, so this will be a room. Good old conference room Apple. Again, I'm going to pick a time that's not available. I'm going to say the 10:30 to 11:30 again. Oops, 11:30. All right, so we know this one is not available. We should get an email about this. Okay, just gotta do a page refresh. There's a conflict. Okay, it should also trigger an email. Let's see if I got my email. I did. Hold on, I'm gonna show it to you in just 1 second. Okay, there you go. That's the email I got in my Gmail. Sorry, I didn't want to show my Gmail inbox. So that's confirmed. Now we got to try the other one, right? Okay, so let me kill that. Okay, so let's make a valid one. Let's make one for equipment because it'll work for both. I want to prove it's not just rooms. Okay, so I'll do one for equipment. I want the media cart. Okay, and this is going to be for Tuesday. I'm doing this just because I want to see it in the calendar view also. From 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. So this dummy data ends up being important. We kind of have to verify and validate that we actually built our system and it functions correctly. Okay, so for 2 to 5 p.m., okay, there's a new piece of equipment that I'm trying to reserve. System's doing its checks. Confirmed, yay. Okay, and I'm going to see if I got my email the way that I wanted to. I did. I'll show it to you in 1 second. There it is. Your reservation's confirmed. Media card A for 9:25, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Okay, so we got all our emails wired up, so that's good. We want our users to be aware of what's going on. So that all works well. We're in very good shape. Okay, so email alerts is set. Okay, what else can we do? Do the title bar. That's good. Okay, send update. I'll show you. This is one I kind of like. I use it a lot. I'm going to get rid of this tab. That one's kind of confusing me. Okay, so what if, let's say I'd reserved a conference room or something. I just want to remind people about this. It'd be nice if I just had like a little checkbox that would trigger that. So what I could do is make a checkbox in the form just as a trigger point. So I'm going to set that up. So this will be just a simple SharePoint field. I'm just going to call it send update or email update. That's even more clear. Email update. Yes, no. Defaults to no. It's not part of the view. We do need to add it into the form. So I'm going to go out to the Infowise form. And you can add it on there. I'll make it the last field. Okay. So I just come in here. I just need to add send update on the end. Email update. That's right, I forgot. Okay, it's email update. I don't need to show it on the new form, so I'll just have permissions for that. It should show on the edit form only. Okay, so come back into advanced column permissions, and for email update, I'm going to set that hidden on new, and then writable in other cases. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, now this is just a trigger for me to send an email. I don't want it to actually retain the value. So if the user checks the box, I want to send out an email, but the next time they go to open the form, I need it to be back to unchecked. So I need an action to take care of that for me. I'll make it the last action. Okay, so I'm going to put clear send email. On edit, just set it back to no. Whoop. Email update, back to no. If email update is yes. And I want to remind myself to do this last. All right. All right, that's all I needed, just a little simple action. The email trigger can just be from email alerts. Let me close out of here. What that allows me to do is go back and I can make an email alert for the update. So if I go into my reservations list, I can go back to email settings. And I can make one for update. I'll just make it go to me for now. Like I said, you normally change it to form fields and stuff like that, but this is just a test system I'm making at the moment. So this will be on modify, and what I'm listening for is when email update after change equals yes. I wanted to do this when they check that box and only do it at that time. All right, so this is going to be similar to other ones, so we can do some copy and paste. So reservations to, this is going to be reservations to, we'll call it email update. Okay, reservations to email update. Okay, reservations, we'll call it, we'll say reminder. Okay, I'll just do this to save it for the moment. Share template, sure. And if you remember, I like to copy and paste. I kind of have a trick to this. So I'm going to grab that stuff, use that to help me do my other one. Okay, so this is a reminder, right? So I'm going to say, it's got some kind of weird font size. I don't know how that happened there. I'll make that in orange. Why not? I'll do a different color. Okay, same thing, reserved by. Okay, so obviously I could dress up these email content templates. Right now I'm just really focused on functionality. The aesthetic things, look and feel, are easy to kind of paint in as you get further along in the project. You want to make sure that its core functions work right first. Okay, so there's the template. So I just need to hit OK to save that. And then this was on a modify, so I just need to map it to the email update rule. And this will make it so when you check the box, and only when you check the box, it will send out that email alert. See that email update after change equals yes. Okay, so we're just kind of like providing some extra functionality. And as always, I want to check that and see if it does what I think it's going to do. So when I come back in the form, okay, so let's say, here we go. We got coming up this afternoon from 4 to 5 p.m. is the conference room, and I want to remind people. So remember, I had the form field for other attendees. You know, I'd probably want that to be on my email alert to make it go out to them. See the attendees list? I can put multiple people. See, you know, whoever. Oh, forgot to change the setting. It should allow multiple, but that's an easy fix. See the email update box? That's my trigger. So, you know, if I'm the organizer of the event or something and I just want to remind people, I could do that. That's what that whole setup was for. Okay, and I should get that email since I checked the box. Now the cool thing is, remember I reset it? I want to make it where, you know, when they go back in the record, I don't want it to retain that checkbox value. I need to reset it. See how it's back to false? That's what it needs to do. It needs to reset every time. I only needed it there to trigger that email. So I'm just going to my inbox just to see that reminder. Okay, 1 second. I'll show that to you. There it is. Here's my reminder. So it did confirm that it worked. So that's good news. All right, so we're kind of running up on time. Let's see if you guys have any questions or comments about any things I'm doing. All right, we do have some questions. 1 sec. There's a question from Jim. Hey, Jim, good to hear from you. How do you integrate this with the reservations calendar app with Exchange resources? Jim, that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we are kind of covering with this system. That might require some custom programming. So the Exchange functionality is really pretty new. One thing I would encourage you, if this is kind of a critical functionality or something that you guys really need, that feedback's important. If you want to send me an email, I can kind of get in touch with our main developer. We have a lot of feature requests for our product, and we kind of prioritize that. I know Exchange is important. That was just added this summer, and it was just updated. In fact, if you check your newsletter today, you'll see some notes about that. It's so brand new. I don't really have comments about how to approach that, but the way this system is set up at the moment, it's mostly managed from within SharePoint, so it is kind of relying on the users to be willing to use those dashboards as far as checking the calendar. Don't have any, special insights on that, but this is really kind of about generating, some new ideas for things. Dang it, there's one more thing. Yeah, sure, Jim. Thanks. I'm glad you're able to attend today. So what will we do next? Filter. Let's just talk about kind of nice to have, since we're kind of up on time in general. I'll just kind of talk to you about what I would do next with the system if I were working for a customer or doing this for my business. Views are an easy one, right? So we'd want to add views which would be specific to rooms and specific to equipment, so we could kind of divide that up. I really like a list view, summary links, web part, dashboard. See those tiles? That's kind of the way I would want the homepage to look. Make it really easy when your users arrive at the reservation system to get to the various pages. We want to make it really easy for them to find particular room or resource. So you want to have kind of like a filter box view. SharePoint provides something, but Infowise has something that's even better. So look, if I go in here and type conference room cherry, whoa, if I can spell, all right. See how that filters down, but Infowise provides some filter functionality. So that would be a page I probably want to have as like kind of a more organized filter tool that looks a bit nicer. So working on different views, I would say that'd be important. You want to have links to those rooms and equipment, make it easy for those to be added or updated, since they're simple lookup lists. Maybe like add a way for people to request features or, report issues with the system if they're having some kind of problem there. I'd probably make different versions of the calendar. So I made just like my first pass to the calendar, right? And it looks decent. But one thing I would encourage is, rather than make like one perfect calendar, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make different calendar pages that focus on particular things. So you might make another page that says monthly calendar or like monthly equipment calendar. You can just make pages and views. As long as you provide an easy way for your users to navigate, that'd probably be good. If you try to make the one perfect calendar page or one perfect dashboard, that kind of makes things difficult. So I would tend to favor just creating multiple different pages that with, slight variations to accommodate particular purposes. Other than that, I would basically be looking for feedback from the users to, find out how it goes. I'd want them to kind of test using the system. It is true that people tend to work from their Outlook calendars typically. Obviously you're blocked really from customizing that system very much. Whereas with this system, with what you're building yourself, you have total and complete control over these views and functionality. So this is a lot more adaptable for you. So I would argue that this system we built today in our workshop has a lot of flexibility and can be adapted to suit a lot of different kind of purposes. I really like the indicators. That's good. You could have different statuses. Visualization of the data is a big one. So, that's coming up with different views of the data. That'd probably be good. So, That pretty much covers it. It's a long time to sit in the workshop for 2 hours. I'm kind of impressed and surprised actually that some of you stuck with it this long. I really appreciate that. If you guys ever have questions or you just want to chat with me or just get my comments in regard to this system or other workshops, feel free to email me directly. I'm happy to try and kind of communicate with you that way. My email address is willc@infowisesolutions.com. That's WILLC. So that's pretty much it for today. Really appreciate you guys joining us. I hope you find it valuable. I hope you picked up kind of some fresh ideas on things you can do in your own environment. And we're going to keep doing them. So if you even have like some suggestions or ideas for another workshop, send those along. I'm interested to see what kind of things you want to see. So we'll post the recording up on our site if you want to refer back to it later. And that's pretty much it. So if you enjoyed it and it helped you out a lot, I hope to see you at our next workshop when we do that. Thanks again. Hope you guys have a great Friday and have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.